So Tommy, obviously one thing you can't do is become RFK's running mate because you obviously would be canceled by CNN for this. But you're saying this stuff out publicly. What if you said this shit in private? Then you'd be f***ed even harder.
What?
Just like Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, well, yeah. What was that? What did he say?
Aaron Rodgers supposedly said 11 years ago, this is in 2013, to Pamela Brown, who's one of the CNN journalists who wrote the story as well. And there's no like recording of this.
No, I mean, listen.
He basically said, he said, no, before I get into, before Jay goes off on a fucking bender here, basically, Aaron Rodgers said he brought up doubts of the Sandy Hook massacre in 2012 and how it was staged and that there were crisis actors and that the government was up to no good. And basically, they're reporting on it now, like a day or two after RFK Jr. announced his short list of running mates and Aaron Rodgers being one of them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Listen to how insane this fucking story is.
Jay, go off.
So this Pamela chick goes on with Jake Tapper saying that 12 years ago, there was a conversation I had with Aaron Rodgers, which I didn't report on as a reporter.
Right.
These were just private conversations.
It's not like Aaron Rodgers. It's not like
make any notes. I had no fucking recordings, nothing. But you're gonna believe my word over anyone else's.
It's not like Aaron Rodgers wasn't a public figure back then either.
Right. Exactly right.
He was already a Super Bowl champion.
And then they have it where, you know, Jake Tapper is corroborating this report because Pamela told him about the story. So now it's corroborated.
Yeah.
Look how amazing this fucking thing goes all the way around and how we're supposed to look at these journalists like CNN, all these people as unbiased, objective, honest reporting individuals and not complete propaganda agents who are sons and daughters of the sleaziest fucking whores you find on the corners of like J Street that get spit on. Like their eyes are so crusted the next morning for how much spit gets in their face from being such fucking whores.
Right. So what's so wild about this story, Tommy, and I'll let you weigh in here in just a second, is that they specifically, and I heard this particular line being used, is that that Aaron Rodgers is continuing to spread espouse more and more pain upon the victims' families. This is something he said in private 11 years ago.
Oh yeah, this Jim, whatever the
Jim Sciutto.
Jim Sciutto, another CNN agent. And I call him agent because he's a fucking. These are foreign adversaries, domestic terrorists. Honestly, these are these are the type of people we need to fucking ban and like actually get into prison. So he says, I never understand how and why Sandy Hook conspiracy theorists continue to torture parents who suffer the worst tragedy, blah, 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 like he gives a fuck. So I said, like, these fucks, it's CNN who's bringing this story up from a private conversation, reopening the wound for Sandy Hook parents and all this type of stuff. Not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had a private conversation. He's not going from podcast to podcast talking about Sandy Hook.
Yeah, if anything, I actually would say that
idea he even talked about Sandy Hook whatsoever until then.
It's actually very much. I did not know Aaron Rodgers' position about Sandy Hook until this week because he's never even fucking talked about it.
We don't even know if that's really his position or not.
Right,
either.
But even then, like he's never publicly stated anything. So how are you going to hold him to something he may or may not have said 11 years ago?
It does make me like him more though. Because who's to say that he wasn't just fucking having a drink and like talking shit?
Probably just talking shit. Yeah, he could probably.
Who hasn't had a drink and be like, yeah, I don't know, the government might have done 9/11, even if they're not serious. Like everyone that's like a real human, right? It's like it's like why most people didn't care when Trump said grab him by the pussy. Every male in the country, even every great, like loving, like faithful husband was still just like, it's a dude being a dude. F off. Like who hasn't ripped the bong and been like, I mean, they might have taken down the Twin Towers. I mean, they've done worse shit. Like who hasn't just said that like half jokingly? So f off.
Right.
Like, I think it's funny.
What was that clip that we just that you threw up, Spencer?
Makers to celebrities, the whole country really is talking about the people and what happened in Newtown.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers getting in on that as well today. He shares what he hopes will come from this tragedy.
I hope that we can learn from this and look for the signs more and not ever have something like this happen and keep this on our minds, because these are things that affect all of us directly or indirectly. And this needs to be something that we learn from.
These are the kids who did 9/11. I heard it. He said it.
He said it.
No wonder why they got shot.
And Aaron Rodgers tweets. Aaron Rodgers posts this today. Says, "I'm on the record saying in the past, what happened in Sandy Hook was an absolute tragedy. I am not and have never been of the opinion that the events did not take place. Again, I hope that we learn from this and other tragedies to identify the signs that will allow us to prevent unnecessary loss of life." It's exactly what he said in that clip 12 years ago. My thoughts and prayers continue to remain with the families affected, along with the entire Sandy Hook community. So, what do you think, Tommy? Do you think this is just a one big smear because Jake Tapper of all people has specifically spoken out before RFK actually ran for president, how dangerous he thinks RFK Jr. is being an anti-vaxxer before even COVID was around?
Yeah, well, he did have that. Yeah, RFK was that for a while. I mean, first of all, it's clearly a smear, but second of all, I mean, Jay got to it though. Is what happens if RFK wins? Then he all of a sudden looks at this and goes, "Foreign adversary." but really, where do you think this will go? Legitimately, where does anyone think this will go? Think the president's just going to get it and be like, "All right, let's not abuse it."
Yeah.
What the fuck? Fuck right off. They're not going to abuse it. So that, but also, I mean, it is a smear against them. It is. I mean, but these are also the people that the entire it's like Inception. It's like the dream's collapsing. The Overton window is expanding so quick, so fast. It's the same people that I think it might have been a CNN reporter, but they're like, you have to understand who this RFK figure is. I mean, he's saying things like, they'll do to me what they did to my father. And it's like, provably shoot him in the head. Like, that's what are you talking about? They killed his uncle and his dad. Like, that's not you can't step back anymore and be like, this guy's a real whack job. The former head of CIA counterintelligence, James Jesus Angleton, said towards the end of his career, and they asked him, they said, did the CIA whack Jack? Jack was a nickname for JFK. Instead of just saying no, one syllable, two letters. Instead of just saying no, he said, the CIA is a large mansion, and I have not been in all the rooms. What the fuck? He didn't say no. He didn't even say hogwash.
He's like, it's possible.
He gave some wink and a nod, and then I think another one of his quotes are like, the founders of the CIA are all demons and they're burning in hell. And he took a drink and said, and I'll be there with them shortly. I mean, this is who these people are. So you can't look at this and be like, oh, this is crazy. Like, why wouldn't this is I think Tim Dillon said it. This is the nicest thing they've done to a candidate. This is, they normally do a fucking lobotomy in a lobotomized Cadillac. Instead, they're like, hey, RFK thinks there's snake venom in vaccines. Like, this is the sweetest way they've ever done this.
Towards RFK, you mean?
To any Kennedy. But seriously,
to any Kennedy, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even the 2020 election was the sweetest way they've removed a president ever. It was with ballots.
Probably the nicest
it was
way.
Actually, they put little banners on his Twitter and they kicked him off of fucking whatever, YouTube or vice versa.
Yes.
That's the sweetest way they've ever done this.